about coming out of their homes even after they thought a person of interest had been detained. Now this investigation takes a major step backwards, leaving many in this Providence community grieving and afraid.
The investigation into the Bondi Beach mass shooting in Australia continues. Police call it an anti-Semitic attack during Hanukkah celebration Sunday. The attackers, police say, were a father and son. Federal prosecutors, along with the FBI and local law enforcement, say they disrupted a possible New Year's Eve attack in California. FBI Assistant Director in Charge, Akil Davies.
The subject arrested envisioned planting backpacks with improvised explosive devices to be detonated at multiple locations in Southern California, targeting U.S. companies.
Authorities say they found evidence suggesting anti-government sentiments. Tonight's Powerball jackpot swelling to $1.1 billion after no one drew the winning ticket again this past weekend. You're listening to ABC News.
John, what are you doing? Get in my car. So why are you walking to work?
Thanks, man. It's these insanely high gas prices. They're draining my bank account. I can't afford to drive anymore.
Dude, don't walk. Just do what I do, because I never pay full price for gas anymore. I use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Oh, wait. You're telling me you get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PROFIT for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code PROFIT. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PROFIT for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PROFIT.
If you're struggling to come up with a perfect holiday gift for someone who has everything and loves pancakes, Denny's has an idea. ABC's Jim Ryan says the restaurant chain is rolling out Sticky Kicks.
The product is real. The campaign is solidly tongue-in-cheek.
When you think of Denny's, you think of one thing: fashion.
The limited edition yellow high-top sneakers feature a panel showing the real maple syrup contained within the shoe's uppers. Denny's VP Ellie Doty describes Sticky Kicks as, quote, impractical, unnecessary, and completely over the top, which is exactly why we love them, unquote. Men's sizes 8 to 13, $195 a pair. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Parents know that getting kids to calm down from a temper tantrum can be a challenge, but now a new experiment finds smartwatches might be able to help.
Researchers at the Mayo Clinic are testing a new smartwatch system that they say can detect the early signs of emotional outbursts in young children. A watch with this system installed can monitor a child's heart rate, movement, and sleep, and then send alerts to a parent's phone. In a trial of 50 children between the ages of 3 and 7, parents were made aware of an emotional outburst within about 4 seconds. That allowed them to cut down the length of a tantrum by 11 minutes. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
iBot, the maker of Roomba, the self-automated vacuum, has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
CVS Health supports people in the moments that matter, from picking up a prescription to connecting care. With nearly 5 million daily interactions and serving 185 million consumers and 1.5 million healthcare professionals, CVS Health holds a trusted place in healthcare. By simplifying care and improving health, we're helping people get the care they need. Learn more at cvshealth.com/investor day.
This is the Newsradio KONP Noon Report.
Todd Ort live from the KONP News Center. Here's a look at what's happening on this Monday, December 15th. The Squim man has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for raping a child and sending inappropriate messages to a minor. 31-year-old James Barron was convicted in Clallam County Superior Court after a 12-year-old girl's parents discovered disturbing texts on her phone and contacted police. The investigation revealed that Barron, who is the girl's uncle, was involved in a sexual relationship with her. Messages between them discussed a miscarriage and emergency contraception. Barron also admitted to the relationship during a recorded phone call with his brother. Prosecutors argued he tried to shift blame to the victim despite being the adult. Barron must register as a sex offender and have no contact with the victim for life. His release will ultimately be decided by the Interdeterminate Sentencing Review Board. which could extend his incarceration indefinitely. A 39-year-old Bothell man has been sentenced to a year and 1 day in prison for his role in a fraud scheme that targeted elderly residents in Clallam and Jefferson counties. Prele Carr pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree theft after victims were tricked into handing over large amounts of cash and gold. In one case, a woman was told by someone posing as a federal agent that she was under investigation for money laundering. She was instructed to place $40,000 in a lockbox, seal it with duct tape, and deliver it in a parking lot. She did that 3 times, losing over $120,000. Carr was later identified through surveillance footage and found in possession of one of those lockboxes. He told the court he was new to the country, had taken a courier job, and did not realize it was part of an illegal operation. Now with a look at some other things that happened over the past few days, here's Sandy Keys and his weekend wrap-up.
The weekend seemed to be approaching at least one record statistic, and maybe 2. There were 18 citizen requests for assistance, 9 from Greater Port Angeles, 7 from Sequim, and 1 each originating in Forks and Clallam Bay. One Port Angeles address made a request Friday night, and another one Saturday night. The other near record, which might be seasonally influenced, was theft. We had 13 thefts over the weekend, 10 in Port Angeles, 2 in Forks, and 1 at an unknown address. There were 2 known suicide attempts or threats, the first at 12:47 Saturday afternoon, and the second at 4 o'clock yesterday morning. Both of those, however, came from the same West Port Angeles address. There were 8 traffic crashes. One of them, not too surprising, took place during the rush hours at the Baker Dip projects. Half of the weekend accidents were in the Sequim area. Port Angeles dealt with abandoned vehicles at West 12th, West Lordson Boulevard, and South Francis, and in Sequim they had junkers at Rutherford Road and at Jimmy Come Lately and Schmidt Road intersection. There were only 7 disturbances, 4 harassments, 1 threat, along with assaults on South Lincoln Saturday night, and in Sequim they had 2, West Hendrickson and South 5th Avenue. Some fire department activities included a call to down lines at 217,000 Highway 101, a residential structure fire at Beaver, a general alarm in Forks, and a smoke investigation late Saturday night along East 9th. And our weekend was blessed with many holiday events, most involving music, and all of them receiving enormous praise and gratitude. Perhaps receiving not so much praise and gratitude, the 17 traffic stops over the weekend countywide, but even one of those could have led to the reason why we're still here to enjoy the rest of the holidays. Sandy Keys, KONP Local News.
Looking for affordable home ownership on the peninsula? Mountain View Homes has you covered. Enjoy high-quality craftsmanship at 40% less than traditional homes. You heard me, 40% less. We offer full-service land packages from dirt to turnkey, delivering beautiful, efficient manufactured homes on your chosen site. With 3 convenient locations, including Carlsberg, we're here to serve you. Visit mtviewhomes.com today to learn more. Mountain View Homes, where affordability meets quality.
It's time for your monthly Market Minute with critical insights from local real estate pro May Graves.
Ready to buy a home? Whether it's your first home or it's been 30 years since you shopped for a home, the rules have changed. Here's all you need to know. Step 1, Google best real estate agent or top realtor in your town. Read the reviews and find an agent who matches your style and work ethic. Step 2, call that agent and ask for their trusted lender recommendation. I typically recommend a mortgage broker, since brokers will compare all the rates for you and find the best lending options and guide you through the process of pre-approval. Step 3, get out and see some homes. But wait, if you've got a home to sell first, don't stress. There are many options to help you buy before you sell without liquidating your investments. The key to a great home buying experience? Start with a great agent. This is May Graves, Sequim and Port Angeles Realtor, ranked in the top 1% of agents in the state of Washington for 2024 by Real Trends Verified.
In other news, Sequim Food Bank Executive Director Andra Smith will step down in February, taking on a new statewide leadership role. Smith has accepted a position of Executive Director at the Washington Food Coalition, which represents some 300 hunger relief agencies across the state. Smith joined the Sequim Food Bank in 2016 and is credited with expanding services, launching new programs, and guiding the organization through heightened need during the COVID-19 pandemic. Food Bank has already begun its search for a new director and is trying to prepare for a smooth transition. Western Washington facing another round of wind and rain beginning early this week. A new atmospheric river pushing into the region. That'll compound flood concerns in areas still recovering from last week's storms. This latest system began moving in late last night. It's expected to last through tonight into tomorrow and Wednesday. And in fact, another storm Tuesday into Wednesday could bring some wind with it as well in our area. While not as intense as last week's deluge, the saturated ground and swollen rivers continue to raise the risk of flooding and downed trees. Look for gusts reaching up to 50 miles per hour in some areas near the water, especially Tuesday night into Wednesday. Meantime, looters are targeting flooded properties along Marsh Road in Snohomish County. They're using kayaks and boats to access areas that have been cut off by rising waters from the Snohomish River. The Snohomish County Sheriff's Office confirmed that the thefts have occurred at multiple sites, including at Franklin Farms, where stolen items were later recovered. Residents reported individuals climbing onto rooftops and entering closed areas despite no trespassing signs and road closures. This is News Radio KONP.
The toy section at Swain's is filled with unique things you won't find just anywhere. During the Christmas sale, find cat trucks and equipment toys, perfect for your little builders to inspire creative play, all at 20% off. Nido's super soft, stretchy dough-filled sensory toys, all 25% off. Retro Game Box video games for only $17.87, and Palm Pals, palm-sized plushies for just $3.87, all at Swain's Christmas sale.
Here on the Peninsula, life is an adventure. Your holiday gift giving doesn't have to be. This is Hannah from Brown's Outdoor, and our family has proudly outfitted your family for over 100 years in downtown Port Angeles. We have an amazing selection of gift items your loved ones will enjoy, from the latest outdoor lifestyle apparel or accessories like Kavu shoulder bags, along with a complete list of camping and hiking items. We'd love to see you this holiday season at Brown's Outdoor, family owned and operated for forever.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by All Weather Heating and Cooling. A high wind watch begins at 7 p.m. tomorrow night and continues until 10 a.m. Wednesday. Daytime highs approaching 58 this afternoon under overcast skies with thunderstorms likely. Westerly winds 20 to 25 miles per hour. Chance of rain tonight, lows level off around 41, mainly cloudy skies expected. Overcast skies tomorrow, rain likely, daytime highs approaching 51. Upper 40s Wednesday and Thursday with showers possible both days. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, it's 59 degrees.
A retired veteran sees his first action in 5 years. 2 veterans go down with knee injuries. Good morning, I'm Jay Reynolds. Chiefs lose to the Chargers yesterday. Kansas City eliminated from playoff contention in the loss. Patrick Mahomes suffering a torn ACL.
Injury aside, this season, I think it's easy to say probably the biggest disappointment in terms of a team for the season.
No doubt.
In terms of here we are before Christmas and they're not a playoff team. And, you and I would talk about, they're going to get it figured out, right? When Rashee Rice gets back, they're going to get figured out. That's what will happen. And it just never did. Never clicked.
ESPN analyst Tim Hasselbeck. Chiefs lose Patrick Mahomes to a torn ACL. Packers lose Micah Parsons to what's feared to be an ACL. Broncos beat Green Bay 34-26. Denver's won 11 straight. Patriots' 10-game win streak comes to an end. Bills rally from down 21-0 in Foxborough for a 35-31 win. Texans double up the Cardinals 40-20 for their 6th straight win. Vikings have consecutive wins for the first time this season. They beat the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Rams clinch a playoff berth. They beat the Lions 41-34. Jags top the Jets. Trevor Lawrence, 6 touchdowns, throws for 5 runs for another. Phillip Rivers comes back after 5 years in retirement, throws his first touchdown in 5 years. He and the Colts fall short, though, in Seattle. Seahawks 18-16. Bears rout the Browns for their 10th win of the season. Niners 37-24 over the Titans. Niners have 4 straight wins by double digits. Eagles shut out the Raiders. Ravens shut out the Bengals. Saints stun the Panthers with a field goal at the end. Carolina's 12th straight loss as the betting favorite. Washington snaps an 8-game losing streak, beating the Giants, who've won 8 straight. Steph Curry, 12 three-pointers and 48 points. Warriors, though, fall to Portland. Lakers scored 24 straight in one stretch in their win over Phoenix. Nets rout the Bucks by 45. Wizards beat the Pacers. They now have 4 wins.
In local sports, in NWAC women's basketball action, the Peninsula Pirates, now 7-2, dominated the Swamp Classic at Green River. The women Pirates knocked off Clark 67-46, Green River 76-54, and Wenatchee 74-40. Wenatchee entered the tournament at 8-1. Peninsula won those 3 games by an average score of 72-44. Once again, 6'2" sophomore Alexis Smith controlled the floor. Against Clark, Smith poured in 28 points and grabbed 10 rebounds. She followed that with 19 points and 11 boards against Green River, then added 20 points and 9 rebounds in the win over Wenatchee. 6' sophomore Aspen Frazier averaged 9 points and 8 rebounds per game. McKenna Patrick chipped in 6 points and 7 rebounds a night, while Kimberly Brown averaged 8 points and 5 rebounds. Former Nia Bay Red Devil Rihanna Moss had a game-high 19 points against Clark, knocking down 5 3-point shots. The Pirates off till December 29th when they play 3 games in 3 days at the LCC Classic in Longview, December 29th through the 31st. Peninsula will face Chemeketa, 4th-ranked Umpqua, and top-ranked Walla Walla. All those games will be broadcast here on KONP. On the men's side, the Peninsula Pirates dropped all 3 games at the Lane College tourney in Eugene, Oregon over the weekend. In a 70-60 loss to South Puget Sound, Patrick Odingo led the Pirates with 22 points. In a 79-63 loss to Blue Mountain, former Port Angeles Rough Rider Gus Hallberg had a strong outing, scoring 17 points in 35 minutes, including 3 3-point shots, along with 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. The Pirate men will host Highline on Thursday at 5. In high school basketball, the Port Angeles girls defeated Olympic 47-15. Lindsey Smith led the Rough Riders with 22 points, while Kenzie Moss added 8. The Rider girls travel to North Kitsap Tuesday night, and you'll hear that game right here on KONP. On the boys' side, Port Angeles picked up wins over Olympic 57-46 and Elma 56-50 over the weekend.
Miss, your burger is served.
Thank you.
And if I may suggest a pairing, this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. The sweetness of Pepsi perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger, while the citrus and carbonation elevates the taste for a truly stunning flavor profile. Bon appetit.
Now that is one perfect combination. If this is how the other half lives, I could get used to this. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
After 17 years of trust and support from the Olympic Peninsula and its healthcare workers, Rachel Alton has decided to entrust her Project Scrubs inventory, account holders, and still growing clientele to Jim's Pharmacy. Jim's is committed and excited to continue providing the same excellent service, selection, and price match guarantee. And not just apparel. Medical instruments and accessories will be available to students too. Stop by Jim's Pharmacy and meet our Project Scrubs manager, Ashley, today.
Newsradio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks have been wavering and fluctuating as Wall Street gears up for key economic data coming out tomorrow. That shutdown delayed jobs data comes out before the opening bell tomorrow. Goldman Sachs and Bank of America headlining a group of investors putting about $20 billion into the parent company of the Texas Stock Exchange. That adds to the list of Wall Street heavyweights backing the upscale market. JP Morgan Chase's private banking unit expanding into lending services to the wealthy by allowing them to borrow against the value of their classic, custom, and luxury car collections. You know, the value of classic Ferraris, Porsches, and other European brands has outpaced the stock market in recent years. And Denny's is coming out with sneakers filled with real maple syrup. Starting this Sunday, the chain will be dropping some new streetwear drip with its Sticky Kick high-top shoe-shaped containers filled with maple syrup in the classic Denny's bright yellow and red, priced at just under $200. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Pardon me, excuse me.
Frequent bathroom breaks getting in the way? It may be time to see a urologist. Our skilled urology team at Olympic Medical Center just expanded to include Dr. Aaron Ellison, a welcome addition to the team. Whether you're dealing with prostate problems, incontinence, or a feeling that you always need to go, a referral from your doctor to an OMC urologist is just what you need. Learn more today at olympicmedical.org/urology.
Still gifting, prepping, and upgrading? The end-of-year savings event at Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales in Sequim has you covered. Fashion finds include 40% off Montana West purses and buy one, get one 50% off all Montana Silversmith jewelry. Farm favorites like tractor implements 10 to 15% off, chicken coops 25% off, and grub boots are buy one, get one free. Plus pellets, feeds, and toys all deeply discounted. Ring in the new year with smart savings at Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales.
Newsradio KONP, traffic and roads.
All right, traffic, not too many problems out there, just your normal volume spots during the lunch hour, but nothing really to slow you down. A lot of green arrows on all of the routes in Port Angeles, between Port Angeles and Sequim itself as well. A couple of little slowdowns through the Carlsberg area, just heading out of Port Angeles and around the S-curves there at Morse Creek, but nothing else beyond that. Heading out to the Hood Canal Bridge, it is open for traffic right now, no problems there and no scheduled closures. And heading west out to Forks and Nia Bay, there's been a bit of a landslide out in the Nia Bay area on 112, but other than that, no other problems to report at this point, heading on 101 or 112 out to the west end. The ferries right now are pretty much all running on schedule. Port Townsend back up and operating in the last few hours. Weather had shut that one down earlier, and the Seattle runs are all just fine. Your weather forecast does call for some showers through the day today. Look for a high near 60, and we could see some winds from the west picking up and gusting to 40 miles per hour later today. Still windy into tonight, and some more rain comes in, and gusts up to 40 miles per hour, especially near the water. Lows near 40. Steady rain at times on Tuesday. Another half inch of rain coming. Highs in the low to mid 50s, and breezy and windy with heavy rain possible into Tuesday night in the forecast. Right now, Port Townsend, 56 degrees. Also 56 in Sequim, and it's 61 degrees now out at Fairchild Airport here in Port Angeles.
ABC Entertainment News.
Hudson Wild in pursuit of suspect.
Zootopia 2 has now earned more than $1 billion at the global box office, becoming the fastest ever PG-rated film to cross that milestone. About $25 million of those dollars came from this weekend's earnings here in the U.S., which was enough for the family film to top the domestic box office.
Definitely not the Freddy's I remember.
The horror sequel Five Nights at Freddy's 2 managed to scare up about $20 million for the number 2 slot.
Hi, Ella here?
No. Hi, Bill.
Oh, look, there she is.
Meanwhile, a new release, the political dramedy Ella McKay, brought in an estimated $2.2 million, falling short of expectations. And happy birthday to Don Johnson. He's been in everything from Nash Bridges to Django Unchained, but he's probably best known for playing Sonny Crockett in Miami Vice. Don Johnson is 76. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
You know, the teenage years are so much more fraught than when you and I were growing up. It's not just social media, though that phenomenon is pretty easy to point a finger at. Adolescence is a process with a very important purpose: the integration of the known and unknown in a fast-changing world. So says Matt Richtel. He's the author of a new book, How We Grow Up. It creates an enormous sense of internal conflict for an adolescent, he says, against all the backdrop of the falling age of puberty. That means kids' brains are even less ready to make sense of all the changes. We need to teach our kids coping skills, plain and simple. Allow them to let their emotions out and try to be at peace with the fact that you can't have a rational conversation with them when that is happening. Sometimes you have to hit pause and come back later. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hello, I'm Jerry Stewart, and this is One Moment in America. When was the first Christmas celebrated in America? I'll tell you that story after this important message.
Every parent and grandparent wants their children and grandchildren to grow up brave, respectful, and full of purpose. And those who take an active role in guiding our next generation are shaping the future. But teaching values like honor, responsibility, and civic virtue can be challenging. Liberty Village gives families the experiences and guidance to learn and grow together. Through hands-on activities and character-building experiences, they can step into history and explore the principles that make freedom possible. And here at Liberty Village, kids don't just study history, they live it. They witness courage in action, see the cost of sacrifice, and discover how choices rooted in integrity and service can shape a better world. And by participating together, families of all ages strengthen bonds, inspire curiosity, and help to raise informed, principled citizens for the future. And families of all ages can explore, learn, and grow together at libertyvillage.org and become part of shaping a future built on freedom and character.
When asked the question, when was the first Christmas celebration in America, the logical guess would be Jamestown, 1607. But listen to this one. In 1492, when Christopher Columbus was busy discovering America, he found himself traveling south below Florida to the tiny island of Haiti. On Christmas Eve, one of his ships wrecked on a coral reef, and the local Indians saw the wreck, and they helped Columbus and his men remove the ship's valuables. That next day, Christmas Day, Columbus dined with the chief of that tribe, and on that spot, a small fortress was built to honor that special day. The name of the fortress, La Navidad, the Nativity. I'm Jerry Stewart, and that was One Moment in America.
Hi, it's Alicia with Ridgeline Home Care Cooperative, where we're more than a workplace, we're a family. We're worker-owned, worker-ran, and worker-profited, and proud to be named Emerging Business of the Year by our community. If you're a caregiver looking for a place where you're valued, or a family seeking care you can trust, you belong with us. Join our team, or let us care for your loved one. Visit ridgeline.coop, that's ridgeline.coop, Ridgeline Home Care Cooperative, owned by caregivers, trusted by families.
This afternoon on the Todd Ortloff Show, local agent May Graves breaks down real estate trends. Then Sam Grisman joins us to talk about honoring the music of David Grisman and Jerry Garcia at Field Hall.
Join us at 1 o'clock Monday through Thursday for the Todd Ortloff Show on KONP. Information to keep you engaged in your community with the people and organizations who keep it running. Sponsored by Dan Shappy, Farmers Insurance.
Hello, I'm a disabled veteran, and thanks to Sarge's Veteran Support, I live at Minsky Place in Sequim. Are you spring cleaning or downsizing? Turn your unused items into homes for heroes. Sarge's Veteran Support's thrift store in Forks accepts donations of furniture, household goods, antiques, and collectibles, all to fund housing for veterans across the Olympic Peninsula. Visit sargesveteransupport.org to learn more. Your generosity will change lives.
'Tis the season for savings with the Seroptimist of Port Angeles Elegant Gourmet Coupon Books. For 40 years, these books have helped raise over $600,000 for local scholarships, awards, and community projects. Find coupons for dining, espresso, treats, sweets, shopping, and services, and still only $10. Grab one from your favorite Seroptimist member or at Jim's Pharmacy, Swain's, Blackbird Coffee, Odyssey Books, Fogtown Coffee, The Sweet Spot, or Squim Shoe Repair.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington.
A family member under investigation in connection with the death of Rob Reiner and his wife yesterday.
Nick Reiner, the 32-year-old son of actor-director Rob Reiner, and his wife Michelle Singer, was taken into custody Monday after the couple were found Sunday in their Los Angeles home dead from apparent stab wounds, according to a law enforcement source. While L.A. Deputy Police Chief Alan Hamilton would not comment Sunday on the son, he did discuss the investigation.
We're going to try to speak to every family member that we can to get to the facts of this investigation.
I'm Julie Walker.
A memorial's been held for the victims of this weekend's Bondi Beach shooting in Australia that left at least 15 people dead.
A crowd has gathered at the site of the deadly shooting at Sydney's Bondi Beach in Australia. Paying respect to the victims, they lit menorah candles, sang songs and gave speeches to the gathered mourners.
And the two gunmen opened fire during a Hanukkah celebration on the famous beach, leaving at least 15 people dead, among them a 10-year-old child. And there is more focus now on the fact the gunmen had ties to overseas terrorist groups. Here's correspondent Donna Warder.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is calling it an act of anti-Semitic terrorism.
This is a targeted attack on Jewish Australians on the first day of Hanukkah, which should be a day of joy, a celebration of faith.
At least 38 others were injured in the attack. One gunman was fatally shot by police, and the second is under arrest in the hospital in critical condition. I'm Donna Warder.
Authorities and intelligence agencies described the gunman as Muslim with ties to extremist Islamist ideology. One suspect was previously flagged by Australian intelligence for Islamic State-linked activities. More from townhall.com.
Our country is held together by small businesses. That's a fact. It's also a fact that 9 out of 10 of those small businesses will fail. Why? Because it's hard. Really, really hard to build a profitable business from the ground up today. Pure Talk knows that. They started as a small American wireless company determined to keep their customer service in this country. It worked. And today, Pure Talk is determined to help other small businesses prosper by offering them the same white glove service the big guys get. Same service, same 5G network at a truly affordable price. Pure Talk is focused on businesses that employ welders and roofers, electricians, plumbers, HVAC techs, the people who keep the lights on. If that sounds like your business, give Pure Talk Business a try and see just how much you could save. Dial pound 250, say micro, to switch to an American wireless company who understands the power of small business. Pure Talk.
As the investigation continues, we're learning more about the 2 American service members who were killed in Syria over the weekend. We get more details from correspondent Haya Panjawi.
The 2 Iowa National Guard members killed in a weekend attack that the U.S. military blamed on the Islamic State group in Syria have been identified. The U.S. Army named them as 25-year-old Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar and 29-year-old Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds ordered all flags in Iowa to fly at half-staff in their honor. A civilian working as a U.S. interpreter was also killed in the attack, and 3 other Iowa National Guard members were wounded. A Syrian official says the assailant has joined Syria's internal security forces as a base security guard 2 months ago and recently was reassigned amid suspicions that he might be affiliated with the Islamic State. The gunman was killed. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
You'll find breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Bob Agnew. The Hamas terrorist group on Sunday confirmed the death of a top commander in Gaza. It came a day after Israel said it had killed Raid Sahar in a strike outside of Gaza City.
The Hamas statement describes Saad as the commander of its military manufacturing unit. Israel has described him as the architect of the October 7th, 2023 attack that sparked the war in Gaza and asserted that he had been, quote, engaged in rebuilding the terrorist organization.
That is correspondent Bernie Bennett. This past week, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem firmly defended the administration's hardline policies on illegal immigration and stopping drugs across the border.
Fentanyl traffic across our border at the southern border is down 56%, and that means that fewer families will have to live with the pain of losing a loved one.
Noah made her comments this past week at the Homeland Security and Defense Forum's Border Security Symposium here in Washington. More of these stories at townhall.com.
This is the Newsradio KONP Noon Report.
Todd Ort live from the KONP News Center. Here's a look at what's happening on this Monday, December 15th. The Squim man has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for raping a child and sending inappropriate messages to a minor. 31-year-old James Barron was convicted in Clallam County Superior Court after a 12-year-old girl's parents discovered disturbing texts on her phone and contacted police. The investigation revealed that Barron, who is the girl's uncle, was involved in a sexual relationship with her. Messages between them discussed a miscarriage and emergency contraception. Barron also admitted to the relationship during a recorded phone call with his brother. Prosecutors argued he tried to shift blame to the victim despite being the adult. Barron must register as a sex offender and have no contact with the victim for life. His release will ultimately be decided by the Indeterminate Sentencing Review Board, which could extend his incarceration indefinitely. A 39-year-old Bothell man has been sentenced to a year and 1 day in prison for his role in a fraud scheme that targeted elderly residents in Clallam and Jefferson counties. Prele Carr pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree theft after victims were tricked into handing over large amounts of cash and gold. In one case, a woman was told by someone posing as a federal agent that she was under investigation for money laundering. She was instructed to place $40,000 in a lockbox, seal it with duct tape, and deliver it in a parking lot. She did that 3 times, losing over $120,000. Carr was later identified through surveillance footage and found in possession of one of those lockboxes. He told the court he was new to the country, had taken a courier job, and did not realize it was part of an illegal operation. Now with a look at some other things that happened over the past few days, here's Sandy Keys and his weekend wrap-up.
The weekend seemed to be approaching at least one record statistic, and maybe 2. There were 18 citizen requests for assistance, 9 from Greater Port Angeles, 7 from Sequim, and 1 each originating in Forks and Clallam Bay. One Port Angeles address made a request Friday night and another one Saturday night. The other near record, which might be seasonally influenced, was theft. We had 13 thefts over the weekend, 10 in Port Angeles, 2 in Forks, and 1 at an unknown address. There were 2 known suicide attempts or threats, the first at 12:47 Saturday afternoon and the second at 4 o'clock yesterday morning. Both of those, however, came from the same West Port Angeles address. There were 8 traffic crashes. One of them, not too surprising, took place during the rush hours at the Baker Dip projects. Half of the weekend accidents were in the Sequim area. Port Angeles dealt with abandoned vehicles at West 12th, West Lordson Boulevard, and South Francis, and in Sequim they had junkers at Rutherford Road and at Jimmy Come Lately and Schmidt Road intersection. There were only 7 disturbances, 4 harassments, 1 threat, along with assaults on South Lincoln Saturday night, and in Sequim they had 2, West Hendrickson and South 5th Avenue. Some fire department activities included a call to down lines at 217,000 Highway 101, a residential structure fire at Beaver, a general alarm in Forks, and a smoke investigation late Saturday night along East 9th. And our weekend was blessed with many holiday events, most involving music, and all of them receiving enormous praise and gratitude. Perhaps receiving not so much praise and gratitude, the 17 traffic stops over the weekend countywide, but even one of those could have led to the reason why we're still here to enjoy the rest of the holidays. Sandy Keys, KONP Local News.
Coastal Farm and Ranch, just what the country needs.
Say bah humbug to big spending and save during Scrooge Night at your local Coastal. On Monday, December 15th from 4 to 9 p.m. only, save 25% off all regular and clearance price clothing, footwear, and clothing accessories for the whole family. That's a deal even Scrooge would stop in for. Plus, take 25% off regular and clearance price toys and home decor just in time for Christmas. For 5 special hours at your local Coastal, you can get 15% off regular and clearance price pellet grills and smokers, camping and fishing gear, plus pet and livestock accessories for one night only. Then shop everything else at Coastal, from fencing to feed to heating, for a store-wide 10% off. Arrive at 4 p.m. for the best selection of deals during Scrooge Night.
Coastal Farm and Ranch, just what the country needs.
Save big with Coastal during Scrooge Night this Monday, December 15th.
You hear that? That's the sound of Pepsi Zero Sugar, the better tasting, more refreshing Zero Sugar Cola. Listen to that endless pour. Pure refreshment. If it sounds this good, just imagine how it tastes. Oh yeah, so good. Pepsi Zero Sugar. Let your taste decide.
In other news, Sequim Food Bank Executive Director Andra Smith will step down in February, taking on a new statewide leadership role. Smith has accepted a position of Executive Director at the Washington Food Coalition, which represents some 300 hunger relief agencies across the state. Smith joined the Sequim Food Bank in 2016 and is credited with expanding services, launching new programs, and guiding the organization through heightened need during the COVID-19 pandemic. Food Bank has already begun its search for a new director and is trying to prepare for a smooth transition. Western Washington facing another round of wind and rain beginning early this week, a new atmospheric river pushing into the region. That'll compound flood concerns in areas still recovering from last week's storms. This latest system began moving in late last night. It's expected to last through tonight into tomorrow and Wednesday. And in fact, another storm Tuesday into Wednesday could bring some wind with it as well in our area. While not as intense as last week's deluge, the saturated ground and swollen rivers continue to raise the risk of flooding and downed trees. Look for gusts reaching up to 50 miles per hour in some areas near the water, especially Tuesday night into Wednesday. Meantime, looters are targeting flooded properties along Marsh Road in Snohomish County. They're using kayaks and boats to access areas that have been cut off by rising waters from the Snohomish River. The Snohomish County Sheriff's Office confirmed that the thefts have occurred at multiple sites, including at Franklin Farms, where stolen items were later recovered. Residents reported individuals climbing onto rooftops and entering closed areas despite no trespassing signs and road closures. This is Newsradio KONP.
End-of-life decisions are hard. Be it pre-planning or sudden loss, you need to have an advocate in your corner, which is why I wholeheartedly recommend Drennan and Ford Funeral Home and Crematory in Port Angeles, the only locally owned funeral home and crematory in Clallam County. Their expertise ensures a smooth process so you can focus on healing and being with your loved ones. Their help through the darkest time in my life will forever stay with me. Call 360-457-1210.
It's time for Your Port of PA Today. A look inside the port and share what's in it for you.
I'm Port Commissioner Connie Bove. The Port of Port Angeles is excited to bring you a look inside your port, the wide-ranging companies operating in our facilities, and share exciting upcoming projects designed to develop and upgrade infrastructure to attract even more business and jobs to our area. Did you know over 50 companies are on port property, totaling over 1,000 jobs? The Port of PA stretches well beyond the Port Angeles Harbor. The port owns and operates 2 airports, William R. Fairchild International and the CQ Airport, providing convenient and essential access to some of the more remote areas of the peninsula. We'll continue to bring you insights from the Port of PA on future segments. Email hello@portofpa.com or keep up to date on Facebook.
This has been Your Port of PA Today. Explore portofpa.com.
Friends of the Port Angeles Library looking for volunteer book lovers to help staff the bookstore inside the PA Library. Volunteers help customers organize shelves and support the local library. For more information and applications, available at the bookstore there at the library, or you can call 360-417-8500, 417-8500, extension 7755.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast.
brought to you by All Weather Heating and Cooling. A high wind watch begins at 7 p.m. tomorrow night and continues until 10 a.m. Wednesday. Daytime highs approaching 58 this afternoon under overcast skies with thunderstorms likely. Westerly winds 20 to 25 miles per hour. Chance of rain tonight. Lows level off around 41. Mainly cloudy skies expected. Overcast skies tomorrow. Rain likely. Daytime highs approaching 51. Upper 40s Wednesday and Thursday with showers possible both days. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, it's 59 degrees.
It's 12:46. Let's check national sports with Robert Workman next.
NFL Week 15, two teams wrapped up playoff berths on Sunday. The Broncos won their 11th straight, 34-26 over the Packers to become the first AFC club to clinch a spot. 4 touchdown passes for Bo Nix.
We continue to prove over and over our defense is going to play stout when we need them. They're going to get stop after stop. As an offense, we continue just to have to score points.
The Rams sewed up the first NFC berth, beating the Lions 41-34. Matthew Stafford clicked with Colby Parkinson twice for scores. Kyron Williams rushed for 2 more. The Bears took advantage, blasting the Browns 31-3 to move into first in the NFC North. Bills rallied from a 17-point halftime deficit to upend the Patriots 35-31 and prevent New England from clinching a postseason spot. Seahawks clipped the Colts 18-16. 44-year-old Phillip Rivers' comeback just missed. Blake Group's 60-yard field goal put Indy ahead in the final minute, but Jason Myers hit a 56-yarder for Seattle as time ran out. Chargers edged the Chiefs 16-13, knocking KC out of the playoffs for the first time since 2014. Patrick Mahomes tore his left ACL in the closing minutes. He's done for the year. 6 touchdowns for Trevor Lawrence, 5 through the air as the Jaguars jacked up the Jets 48-20.
We executed really well. We got in the right plays against the right looks against what the Jets were doing.
Shutouts for the Ravens and Eagles, wins for the Texans, Saints, 49ers, Commanders, and last night, the Vikings. NBA, the Blazers slipped past the Warriors 136-131, 35 points apiece for Jeremy Grant and Shaedon Sharpe to cancel out a 48-point night from Steph Curry. Nets blasted the Bucks 127-82, the 45-point margin of victory, matching the largest in franchise history. Lakers blew a 20-point lead but rallied to shade the Suns. Timberwolves, Wizards, Hornets, Hawks, and Pelicans were winners. NHL, the Mammoth came back from down 3-0 in the third period to get past the Penguins 5-4 in overtime. Hurricanes clipped the Flyers in a shootout. Wild, Sabres, Canucks, and Canadians were winners. That's Monday Sports.
Hey there, Dawn Riling with Olympic Hot Tub. This holiday, treat yourself to the best present of all, a hot tub from Olympic. Through Christmas Eve, our Santa Loves a Smart Top event will save you up to $4,800 on your new tub and include an amazing smart top for free. This awesome hardcover handles Northwest weather, locks in heat, and looks fantastic. Santa loves a smart top, and so will you. It's the perfect gift to put under the tree. Details at olympichottub.com. Better you, better life.
North Olympic Peninsula, are you ready to party into 2026? Black Diamond Junction is live this New Year's Eve at the Eagles Club in Port Angeles, and you're invited. Doors open at 5:30. The band turns it loose at 9. Your night includes dinner, dessert, dancing, and champagne, all for just $60 a person or $110 per couple. The event is open to the public, but you got to get a ticket. They won't last. Call now, 360-452-3344. 360-452-3344.
With so many choices for deliveries, how convenient is it that you've got an option for the perfect cup of joe, too? Fogtown Coffee in Port Angeles delivers. We offer a no-cost delivery for orders to businesses of $20 or more within city limits. Call 360-504-3509 for delivery or download the Joe Coffee app. Just text coffee to 474747 and order ahead for store pickup. You can even schedule a specific time. Fogtown Coffee on Front Street, your front door coffee delivery headquarters.
Time keeps on ticking as Christmas draws near. Soon Santa will come with his 8 tiny reindeer, his sleigh loaded up with gifts from the past, each one so special, making memories that last. It's clear that St. Nicholas knows the best place to shop. It's friendly, it's local, it's the Clallam Co-op. You too can be this year's best little buyer as you shop dollies and puzzles and radio flyer. The Co-op has gifts for ages 1 to 93, gifts of love and nostalgia for under the tree.
Newsradio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks are fluctuating as investors worry about tomorrow's shutdown delayed jobs data and how it might impact hopes for more interest rate cuts from the Fed next year. When big companies and even countries need help deciding how to cut costs, they often turn to consultants. Now one of the biggest names in the business is looking to cut its own costs. Sources tell Bloomberg top execs at McKinsey are talking with department heads about a plan to cut thousands of jobs. Sources say Ford Motor intends to convert a Kentucky electric vehicle battery plant so it can produce cells for energy storage to power the electric grid instead. That's as the automaker seeks to repurpose EV manufacturing capacity as sales of battery-powered cars plunge in the U.S. And armored cars to combat thieves are seeing $660 million worth of demand in Brazil. The country is now the world's top armored car producer, and output is forecast to climb by a third in the next 2 years. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Save big right now at Angelus Furniture. And when I say big, I mean truckload big. The Serta Truckload Sale is going on now. Check out a Serta Perfect Sleeper Blue Lagoon Firm Queen for only $679. Upgrade to a Serta iComfort Aspire Medium Queen for only $19.99. And take it a step further with a new adjustable bed base. A queen size starts at only $599. And right now, get 0% financing for 12 months OAC. See the Serta experts today, only at Angelus Furniture.
Buying locally doesn't always mean paying more. At McCrory Carpet One, they're a part of a cooperative that bands together over 1,000 family businesses just like them to form the largest floor buying group in America. Together, they buy over $7 billion in flooring. That means not only do you get the best prices and quality installation, but you help support local jobs and families. McCrory Carpet One has been proudly serving our community for over 60 years. Always priced right, always done right. McCrory Carpet One.
It's 12:52. Can chocolate help slow aging? There's growing interest in foods that might influence how long we live. ABC News medical contributor Dr. Alec Patel says that researchers found a natural chemical in dark chocolate may be linked to slightly slower aging of our cells.
What researchers looked at was a chemical compound in dark chocolate, the darker the better, called theobromine, and a potential association with high levels of this chemical compound and lower signs of biological aging. So these are markers in your blood that go up when you age.
Now, the study did measure how much chocolate people ate. It did not test whether eating chocolate actually slows aging. One of the most popular Christmas movies of all time, Home Alone, debuted 35 years ago. The iconic house in the film underwent an interior renovation and was sold earlier this year. Now we're told that it will be transformed back to the way it looked in 1990, the year the holiday movie made its debut in theaters. The former owner of the house in Winnetka, Illinois, John Abenstein, says that his family stayed in the home while they were filming and watched the movie as it was being put together.
The interesting part is that after the shoots, the cast and crew just kind of hung around because they were away from home themselves, and the home became kind of a second home to them. So they became, what I describe as our movie family.
Abenstein wrote a memoir called Home, but Alone No More. A new movie from James L. Brooks, not enough to topple sequel supremacy at the box office this weekend. ABC's Mike Dubusky has more on that.
Hudson Wild in pursuit of suspect.
Zootopia 2 has now earned more than $1 billion at the global box office, becoming the fastest ever PG-rated film to cross that milestone. It also topped the U.S. box office this weekend with over $25 million. The horror sequel Five Nights at Freddy's 2 managed to scare up about $20 million for the number 2 slot.
Ella.
Meanwhile, the political dramedy Ella McKay brought in an estimated $2.2 million, falling short of expectations. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Actor Peter Green has died. He was 60. Green, best known for his role as Zed in Pulp Fiction and for playing the villain Dorian Tyrell in the 1994 hit The Mask.
What a rush.
Oh, boss. You okay?
Better than ever, you idiots.
Yeah, his manager Greg Edwards confirmed Green died in his home in New York. His cause of death not released.
As we begin the week, we do so with a new war. No, not Venezuela and not Ukraine. It's Disney, Google, AI, and big, big money. I'm Kim Commando for NetSuite. AI is everywhere. Companies who know how to use it are getting ahead. Download the free business guide, Demystifying AI, right now at netsuite.com/Kim. The war is official. The battle lines are clearly drawn. If you use AI to create images, say of any of the more than 200 Disney, Marvel Comics, or Star Wars characters from this day on, you can only use OpenAI, owners of ChatGPT. And there's more. Disney has filed a $1 billion lawsuit against Google for its AI copyright infringement in its AI image and video tools. And they're threatening NBC Universal, Meta's character AI, and Warner Brothers Discovery. So the word is, use Disney without its permission in AI, and the mouse will roar. There's still time for you to win a $500 Amazon gift card. Go right now and enter at winfromkim.com. Every business is asking the same question. How do we make AI work for us? The possibilities are endless, and guessing is too risky, but sitting on the sidelines is not an option. Your competitors are already making their move. This is exactly the kind of solution I'd turn to. With NetSuite by Oracle, you can put AI to work today. As the #1 AI cloud ERP, trusted by over 43,000 businesses, it brings your financials, inventory, commerce, HR, and CRM together into one single source of truth. That is what makes your AI smarter. It doesn't guess. It actually knows. It can intelligently automate tasks, deliver real insights, help you cut costs, and make AI-powered decisions fast. And this is not some add-on tool. It's AI built directly into the system that runs your business. Whether your company earns millions or hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you stay ahead of the pack. Right now, get their free business guide, Demystifying AI, at netsuite.com/Kim. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/Kim. netsuite.com/Kim.
This is Newsradio KONP.
I'm John Tesh, and coming up, are you gearing up to learn a new skill for work or a new hobby? I'm going to share a surprising trick that can help you learn a new skill dramatically faster than you would otherwise. Next, in today's Intelligence for Your Life Minute.
One of Macy's most wonderful holiday perks is happening right now, Macy's Money. It's only once a year, and it's a chance for everyone to earn rewards. Shop at any Macy's store and you'll earn $10 in Macy's Money for every $50 you spend. No sign-ups or memberships, just earn automatically on everything you buy. It's that easy. So get that party dress, then use the Macy's Money for someone else on your list from the 18th to the 24th. Hurry in. Your chance to earn Macy's Money ends Wednesday. Exclusions apply. See store for details.
Are you trying to learn a new skill or new information? You'll become proficient much faster if you take short, frequent breaks. That's from a new study at the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. Researchers scanned the brains of study volunteers as they were asked to type the same numerical code over and over again. The result, those who typed for 10 seconds and then rested for 10 seconds saw their typing speed improve dramatically. So how does taking breaks help us learn new skills faster? Lead researcher Dr. Leonardo Cohen says it's because when we take a physical and mental break, our brain continues practicing the exact same patterns, but 20 times faster. And all that extra mental practice reinforces our new memories. So bottom line, if you want to learn a new skill faster and better, take short breaks. I'm John Tesh with today's Intelligence for Your Life Minute.
More acres and more chores mean you have more ground to cover in a day. The all-new Bobcat utility tractors are built for it. With 3 models that feature open operating stations or fully enclosed cabs and up to 73 horsepower, plus a Category 2 3-point hitch for heavy implement work, these job-hungry machines take your capability to the next level. Stop into Brim Tractor in Carlsberg to find out about new Bobcat utility tractors.
At Olympic Peninsula Title, we wear a lot of different hats. We are investigators, analysts, and the protectors of property rights. We seek a high standard of accuracy. Our commitment to exceptional service strengthens our mission. We reduce risk. We stay on top of current issues affecting property rights. We sweat the small stuff to give our customers the peace of mind they deserve. When it's time to choose a title company to close your transaction, opt for Olympic Peninsula Title.
North Olympic Peninsula, are you ready to party into 2026? Black Diamond Junction is live this New Year's Eve at the Eagles Club in Port Angeles, and you're invited. Doors open at 5:30. The band turns it loose at 9. Your night includes dinner, dessert, dancing, and champagne, all for just $60 a person or $110 per couple. The event is open to the public, but you got to get a ticket. They won't last. Call now, 360-452-3344. 360-452-3344.
Thank you for making us part of your life all year long. And as we wrap up the year, we wish you a happy holiday season. For Newsradio KONP.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. President Trump, after participating in a border defense ceremony, took aim at the deadly drug fentanyl with a new executive order to reclassify it, he says.
We're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, which is what it is.
The president also condemned the mass shooting at Brown University on Saturday that killed 2 students and injured 9 others. Anxiety building after police say a person of interest has since been released. ABC News contributor and former Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security Elizabeth Newman says the suspect likely was able to plan a getaway.
It is, I suppose, possible that they just got lucky, so to speak, but the fact that we have so little information about the suspect, the fact that here we are 2 days later and we still don't have a picture of them tells me that they probably planned and they had some sort of escape route.
Police in Los Angeles arresting Nick Reiner, and he's been booked with murder in connection with the stabbing deaths of his parents, Hollywood director Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer. ABC's Alex Stone says Reiner's daughter discovered the body Sunday.
She found her mom and dad yesterday. They had been stabbed to death. They were down. The 911 call was for medical aid to the LA Fire Department. They then came and they realized this is going to be a police call and that the police department was going to need to come in.
In Australia, shock and grief following Sunday's anti-Semitic attack at Bondi Beach as people celebrated Hanukkah, killing 15.
Police confirmed the Jewish community was the intended target.
You could just hear the gunshots and they're just so loud. And we didn't know which way that they were shooting, so we were like running on the open road.
Video shows the suspect, a 50-year-old father, and his son, 24 years old, perched atop a pedestrian bridge firing long guns. Police killed the father at the scene while his son is in critical but stable condition.
You're listening to ABC News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-970-3355. That's 800-970-3355. 800-970-3355.
Holiday shopping season can make or break a retailer's year. Consumer confidence, though, could be the Grinch this holiday after falling to a 17-month low.
The federal government has reopened and the effect of tariffs is soaking in. But Gallup's Economic Confidence Index shows slightly worsening views of the economy, and it's being reflected in holiday spending.
I had a Secret Santa at my school, and I was like, wow, I have the same budget that I would usually have, and I got like way less items.
High school student Emerson Gates. Gallup finds consumers in both lower and higher income brackets reducing their holiday spending this year. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
One state is trying very hard to become the Christmas movie capital of the country, so if you're a fan, you better make it there. Connecticut is working to become a destination for holiday movie fans, promoting some of those charming towns featured in films on Lifetime and Hallmark. The state has launched the first ever Christmas movie trail, a self-guided tour of locations where 22 films were made, including Christmas on Honeysuckle Lane. That was shot in a town called Wethersfield, Connecticut. About 100 new holiday movies are put out every year. Sherry Preston, ABC News. And another chance to win big, the Powerball jackpot, swelling to $1.1 billion. This is now the second Powerball jackpot this year to reach $1 billion. There have been 42 consecutive drawings without a grand prize winner. Your chances are tonight. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Hello, everyone. This is Caitlin from Airport Garden Center. Are you looking to spruce up your home for the holidays? Check out our selection of poinsettias, wreaths, and live trees. Have you heard about our custom wreath making station? Open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come on in and make your own custom wreath, swag, or porch planter. We have a huge selection of wreath frames, pots, decorations, and fresh greenery. Would you like one-on-one help from our expert staff? Let us crimp your wreath or show you how to make your own. Bring the whole family for a unique holiday experience. We have hot cocoa and cider, and our wreath station is all undercover from the weather. While you're here, check out our locally made jams, jewelry, wine and cider, and fresh fudge. Not sure what to get the gardener on your list? We have gift certificates too. Add Airport Garden Center to your holiday shopping destinations. 2200 West Edgewood Drive in Port Angeles, 360-457-8462. Happy holidays. Hope to see you all soon.
KONP News brought to you by RE/MAX Evergreen Real Estate. Outstanding agents, outstanding results. 457-6600. Leadership change coming at the Sequim Food Bank. Executive Director Andra Smith will step down February next year after nearly a decade with the organization. Smith has accepted a statewide role as Executive Director of the Washington Food Coalition, which represents more than 300 hunger relief agencies. In Clallam County Superior Court, a Sequim man's been sentenced to 10 years in prison for raping a child and sending inappropriate messages to a minor. 31-year-old James Barron convicted after a 12-year-old's parents discovered disturbing texts on her phone. Barron, who's the girl's uncle, must register as a sex offender and is barred from contact with the victim for life.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by Olympic Game Farm. A high wind watch begins at 7 p.m. tomorrow night and continues until 10 a.m. Wednesday. Thunderstorms likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 61, winds out of the west 20 to 25 miles per hour. Chance of rain tonight, lows level off around 41, mainly cloudy skies expected. Cloudy skies expected tomorrow, rain likely, daytime highs approaching 51. Upper 40s Wednesday and Thursday with scattered showers possible both days. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, 61.
It's the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP. Now, here's Todd.
All right, welcome once again to the show. Going to spend most of the hour today talking with Clallam County Prosecuting Attorney Mark Nichols, who's joining us in the studio. Mark, good to have you back again, as always.
Always great to be here. Thank you, Todd.
Lots going on, and I know we're going to talk with a few things. Just some case resolution, as we usually do, some things that have happened, and then also use that as a springboard to just kind of the problem. Maybe it's at the time of year as well, appropriately. We're going to talk a bit about scams, but that's also relative to, I think, some cases that you wanted to talk about that have kind of gone through your office recently.
Yes, and why don't we wrap up and I'll use the last case that we talk about as a springboard to talk a little bit about scams and fraud activity. We are seeing an uptick of that, as you might expect around the holidays, and the more we can do to help educate people so they don't become victimized, I think the better off everyone is, right, except for the scamsters.
Yeah, very good. All right, so take us through a few cases that have come to, I can never say an end because there's always seems like an appeal, but let's talk about at least as they stand right now, they're at an end.
Sure. Well, actually, I'll take this opportunity because you've mentioned appeals, just to catch folks up on an appeal that has occurred behind the scenes. And this stems from a case that dates back to 2022. It involved a gentleman named Joshua Dickinson who wound up being convicted of some drug-related crimes. And so people hear about those convictions when they occur. What they may not hear much more about is the fact that it is common practice for there to be an appeal of the trial court conviction. It's virtual malpractice for there not to be at this day and age in history. And so Mr. Dickinson appealed his convictions, which resulted in a several-year prison sentence and such. He sought a reversal of his convictions in the State Court of Appeals in Tacoma, and we fall within Division 2 of the Court of Appeals. There's 3 separate divisions. Mr. Dickinson argued through his appeal that an OPNET detective's testimony that a confidential informant completed 2 wired buys equated to stating an opinion that Mr. Dickinson was guilty, which under our state constitution is a determination reserved really solely for a jury. And so he was alleging impropriety at the hand of the state in talking about the wired buys the way that we did. We responded on appeal and argued that the detective did not testify that Mr. Dickinson provided controlled substances to the confidential informant on 2 occasions, but rather that OPNET detectives and the confidential informant completed the process of 2 wired buys with Mr. Dickinson as the target. And we argued further that in order to prove guilt, the prosecution still had to have a forensic scientist testify that substances found on Mr. Dickinson and provided to the CI were actually controlled substances. And so the Court of Appeals affirmed the conviction on October 21st of this year. They stated that the prosecutor's questions about wired buys were merely an introductory question to set the stage for the detective's detailed testimony about the 2 controlled buys that the CI conducted with Mr. Dickinson. And they further commented that the term wired buys was a label for the controlled buy procedure, not a statement that Dickinson sold controlled substances to the confidential informant.
Yeah, I'm listening to this. I'm saying, aren't those just one of the same? It's just a matter of nomenclature.
Essentially, yes. And so these are some of the types of arguments that we are accustomed to seeing raised on appeal. There are appellate attorneys who have a job to do after all. And so the court was sufficiently persuaded that essentially reference to the controlled buy process, the wired buys and such, was an appropriate line of inquiry, and that set the stage for further testimony that allowed the state to actually meet its burden. So the convictions were upheld, they're affirmed, and so that essentially ends the appeal. And that happens all the time behind the scenes with respect to cases that go to trial and that result in a person being sentenced to time in prison or being ordered to pay fines or other such matters.
And you have staff you have to dedicate just to dealing with appeals, basically.
I do. I have we are fortunate as a county in that we have a longstanding deputy prosecuting attorney who's extremely versed in appellate drafting and argument, not only before the Court of Appeals, he also appears before the state Supreme Court. He's so skilled that the State Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, which has an appellate committee, has enlisted his assistance. And so he's really, at this point, contributing almost as a statewide resource, but he's responsible for the handiwork in securing decisions coming out of the Court of Appeals and at times the state Supreme Court that usually wind up affirming the trial court results. Not always, because there are cases where all or a portion of the decision can be overturned, but by and large, we've got a pretty good batting average.
Explain for folks, too, a little bit about how that works, because I think maybe people think, well, that trial prosecutor is going to just go ahead and take the appeal. Appellate process is a whole different sort of ballgame.
It is. And so we find that bringing in a separate attorney introduces a level of objectivity that can be very helpful when it comes time to reviewing the trial court record. That is the record of proceeding developed at the trial court level, including the transcripts, any motions practiced that may have occurred, rulings from the bench. And so that objectivity, I think, carries forward to very quality appellate level writing. Appellate lawyers are also a bit different than trial lawyers in that they usually have, not always, but usually, a more well-developed research skill set, and they're also usually quite skilled at legal writing.
Yeah, because it's a paper trail, essentially. When we get to the appeal, people need to realize you're not doing the trial all over again.
Exactly. Yeah. It's you're stitching together a record of what happened at the trial court level. You're making advocacy-based arguments under the law, and oftentimes there's a need for there to be oral argument, which is a whole undertaking in and of itself, unbeknownst to many. There's time limitations. There are judges on the bench who will ask questions, and frankly, the higher you go up the chain, I think the greater the pressure becomes. And so for people who have argued before certainly the state Supreme Court, what I hear is that they feel that pressure. There's a need to perform. You need to anticipate the variety of questions that the justices may decide to ask you, and you never really have any assurance as to the direction in which they'll go. in asking questions in live time.
All right. So as you alluded to, more appeals now than, I mean, you've been around this long enough. If you had to differentiate over the last couple of decades, are we seeing more appeals than before?
Yes. I couldn't quantify it here on the air today. However, per my earlier remark, at this point, it's very much become the case that if somebody opts to advance their case to a jury trial, for example, and that's the decision of the accused, it's their right, and they're convicted, then what usually happens is, especially if they were found indigent at the trial court level, there's usually a appellate attorney who's provided for them at public expense, and that person carries the baton forward, working with the trial court record to try to see if they can change the outcome on appeal to the betterment of the accused, who at that point would stand as a convicted individual.
More appeals does not necessarily equal. I mean, your thought. People will hear, "Oh, there's more appeals." That mean that there must be more issues with the prosecution and how cases are being tried or something like that. How do you respond to that?
I think it's just it's part of the process, and so what I take away and would highlight is that even though I believe there are more appeals occurring now than in the past and in the state's history, the percentage of cases where you see the trial court decision being overturned is a small percentage, and what that translates into is a reviewing body affirming that what happened at the trial court level happened the way it needed to under law, that individuals' constitutional and due process rights, for example, were honored in the way they need to be, so that we were able to obtain justice according to the law, and everybody got a fair shake along the way. And that's what the system is fundamentally designed to yield, are just results.
All right, let's get to another case.
Sure. And so let's talk a little bit about the case involving a Diamond Point individual who was sentenced to 8 months in jail for felony firearm possession following a jury trial that occurred recently. And so this case came to a conclusion on December 2nd, so just earlier this month, when Clallam County Superior Court Judge Brent Baisden sentenced Mr. Stephen Massey to 8 months in jail after a jury found him guilty of 2 felony counts of unlawful possession of a firearm in the second degree. And so the facts of this case, in short, involve that law enforcement in late August executed a search warrant at Mr. Massey's home. They located 2 firearms in his bedroom, one of which was located immediately adjacent to his bed, the other of which was located in essentially a bedside table drawer, also located next to his bed. Within that drawer, there was the firearm and an expired driver's license belonging to Mr. Massey that was literally right next to the weapon. And so the problem for Mr. Massey involved that he was a convicted felon and was therefore prohibited from possessing firearms. And so my office charged him with 2 counts of unlawful possession of a firearm in the second degree. Mr. Massey opted to advance the case to a jury trial, which again is his constitutional right. At trial, we argued that Mr. Massey had what the law calls dominion and control, or essentially possession and control over the firearms, had knowledge of their whereabouts and of his inability to possess firearms. And at the heart of our argument was essentially that these weapons were located in such close proximity to where Mr. Massey was sleeping that it was unbelievable that he couldn't know about them and exercise control over them.
And so how does the law determine that? I mean, as far as if you're a convicted felon, you're not supposed to possess weapons, firearms. To what extent? Can there be a firearm anywhere on your property, for example? I mean, where is the line on all of this?
Well, the law will look at circumstances on a fact-by-fact basis, and so things such as proximity will weigh heavily in favor of an argument that an individual's in actual or constructive possession of a firearm.
And I only bring it up because if you were in a house and those firearms were locked in a safe somewhere and you didn't know the combination to the safe, you're probably not going to get held on a possession charge at that point.
That would be likely too attenuated, or a scenario where you had maybe a residence or domicile with multiple inhabitants firearm is located in somebody else's room or even in a common area, things start to become attenuated, and the state's ability to carry its burden and prove each element of the crime charged by proof beyond a reasonable doubt becomes very difficult. We may be able to prove an individual's a felon easily enough based on some records. However, proving that they were in possession can become much more challenging under some of those situations that you've identified.
All right. And then back to this case, I mean, you're basically finding a firearm that's on the bedside table, more or less.
Right. Yeah. And it was interesting because Mr. Massey opted to take the stand in his own defense, which is not something that we see occur on a regular basis. It's probably the exception to the rule. He testified that he did not know about the firearms as he was only there to take care of his mother with dementia. And the jury ultimately found Mr. Massey's testimony unpersuasive, came back guilty as charged. Under Washington law, Mr. Massey faced a standard sentence range, and this is under our state's Sentencing Reform Act, which we've talked about before, of 4 to 12 months in jail. And this is the case even though he had a number of prior out-of-state convictions for offenses involving possession of a firearm by a prohibited offender. One of the things that was interesting about this case is that because he had criminal history, but it was from other states, there needed to be a comparability analysis conducted for purposes of determining whether the out-of-state conviction was essentially equivalent to a Washington state crime. And if the answer was yes, it was, say, for example, at a felony level, that would result in Mr. Massey's criminal offender score being increased.
Right. Okay.
If the comparability analysis failed to find an equivalent Washington crime, then the out-of-state conviction would not count to increase his offender score. And so in this case, even though he had a number of convictions, he only wound up having a couple of points on his offender score, which, when viewed in light of the seriousness level of these offenses, resulted in the 4 to 12 month standard range sentence.
So now if those had all been previous convictions in Washington state, so they're equivalent, he would have gotten a maximum number, probably. He would assume, maybe.
His range would have been increased, is what would have happened. And so per earlier discussion that we've had on the air, our sentencing laws in the state of Washington exist and take into account two primary pieces of information, one being an individual's offender score, and generally speaking, each time you have a prior felony conviction, you accrue what we call a point, with the maximum number of points capable of being reflected as 9. Even if you have more than 9 felonies, the maximum score you can attain. There is a cap.
Okay.
And then separate and distinct from an individual's offender score, the law requires us to look at what's called the seriousness level of the offense for which the individual is being sentenced. And so where the two intersect along a graph, you have a sentencing range. In Mr. Massey's case, he had a lower offender score. The seriousness level of the offense was set by statute, and so that's what resulted in that range of 4 to 12 months within which the trial court judge needs to sentence someone unless there's an ability for them to either make an upward departure or a downward departure, and in this case there was no such basis. So we argued on behalf of the state for a 12-month sentence, and also that Mr. Massey be required to register as a felony firearm offender. The defense argued for an 8-month sentence, which is ultimately what the court opted to impose. In addition, they did require him to register as a felony firearm offender. And then I would simply note that the firearms seized from him will be forfeited by law enforcement. And so they're going to be removed from the stream of commerce because they were involved in a crime, essentially.
Interesting. You know, I have just learned something I didn't realize about this equivalency thing. I suppose I understand it in some sense, but that's got to be a frustrating thing. And maybe this leads into a question I was going to ask later. But people, I'm sure, call you and say, well, how are these people getting out or not getting sentenced? Or, you know, when Joe Public looks at an offender, you know, it's got this long rap sheet, so to speak, but yet, you know, you don't get more than a year in jail or something like that, or they're kind of the catch and release, so to speak. Talk a little bit about that.
Of course. And so this is this is an area where I frequently receive questions, and so many, in fact, that I authored a document which I entitled "Why Didn't the Defendant Receive the Maximum Sentence?" And you can find this on the County Prosecutor's Office webpage under what's called a prosecutor post. The short answer to your question is that our state's sentencing laws really create guardrails within which prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges are required to operate. The sentencing laws have evolved over the course of time. If we go way back into the state's history, say into the 1960s and 70s, we had a system that employed what was called indeterminate sentencing. And that allowed for quite a bit of discretion at the hand of a sentencing judge to impose a sentence that might be pretty stiff right out of the gate, even with not much by way of criminal history. It also invited disparate results or differing results across the state, sometimes within the same county's court system. And so from a public policy standpoint, the concerns began to be expressed regarding the disparity or differences in treatment between individual defendants as they were sentenced around the state, oftentimes for the same crime. And so the legislature in the early 80s adopted what is known today as the Sentencing Reform Act, so named because it sought to reform our sentencing practice. We moved away from indeterminate sentencing to a determinate sentencing model that exists within the framework I've described. And so again, what we look at now are the individual's offender score, the seriousness level for the offense or offenses for which they're being sentenced, and that speaks to a range within which the judge needs to sentence unless we have a basis at law that allows for an upward departure or maybe an enhancement. If somebody perpetrates a crime and they're armed with a firearm while they do it, we will oftentimes charge a firearm enhancement. Maybe it's not a firearm. It could be a set of brass knuckles or a knife. We may charge a deadly weapon enhancement. If it's a firearm enhancement and that's pled and proven, that leads to an additional 5 years of hard time being tacked on top of the underlying range sentence imposed by the judge with no credit for good time. So it's a true 5 years that needs to be served. And that's just an example of how a judge could go above the standard sentencing range by adding on that firearm enhancement. There are other aggravators that exist. A good one is an individual who abused a position of trust in perpetrating a crime. And so if you have somebody who is hired to babysit children, and while they're babysitting children, sexually assaults them, they have abused a position of trust for which they were brought on board and either trusted by parents or even paid to perform a function. We will oftentimes charge those aggravators, and that allows for the judge to go outside of the standard range in an upward direction. And then the same way there are aggravators, there are also mitigators. And these are things that would allow a judge to make a downward departure from the standard sentencing range. It's all very case specific. It becomes fairly convoluted. I think the latest edition of the Sentencing Reform Act from memory is roughly 550 pages or so. So it's about the size of a small phone book. And even with very seasoned criminal practitioners, we often find folks needing to sit down, compare notes, and they're not necessarily agreeing on what an individual's offender score is or what the standard range sentence should be. So this is a complex area of law, even for attorneys, and it's very difficult, I think, for the traveling public to understand some of the why behind the what. And so I hope this explanation has helped to demystify a little bit of it.
And I think, there's a lot of people who will say, well, boy, this guy looks like he's been convicted of 20 different crimes at some point. How come he's not, in prison for years and years and years? And I guess there's a lot of, as you're pointing out, there's a lot of things that go into that. And I don't know, maybe that's as frustrating for a prosecutor as it is for the general public to see that, but
it can be. And I think in some areas, part of why the Sentencing Reform Act is constantly evolving is because the state is trying to stay current, at least I hope they are, with public sentiment and set sentencing ranges that are defensible under public policy. And I think sometimes they do that work and they get it right. And in other areas, I think that the Sentencing Reform Act is out of touch with reality, common sense certainly, and I think public expectation in larger city environments and even in smaller rural counties, for example. And one of the cases that we'll talk about in a moment is one that, at least to me, really speaks to the sentencing having been out of whack in relation to the magnitude of the crime and the impact that it had on otherwise law-abiding citizens here in Clallam County.
All right, we'll hold that thought. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about that case. And then we'll get into some fraud things and a few other things as well. And we're going to touch also a little bit about changes in court rules about bail in criminal cases that kind of are looming. And that's not from the local level. This is a state decision that's happening as we continue our conversation with Mark Nichols. He's the Clallam County prosecuting attorney right after this.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP.
Hi, it's Alicia with Ridgeline Home Care Cooperative, where we're more than a workplace, we're a family. We're worker-owned, worker-ran, and worker-profited, and proud to be named Emerging Business of the Year by our community. If you're a caregiver looking for a place where you're valued, or a family seeking care you can trust, you belong with us. Join our team or let us care for your loved one. Call 360-504-3837 today. Ridgeline Home Care Cooperative. Compassionate care powered by the community.
At Harper Ridgeview Funeral Chapel and Squim Valley Funeral Chapel, Mark Gustafson is precisely the professional you want helping your family during a time of loss.
Every morning when I get out of bed, I have one more opportunity to help a family in need that is grieving, that may be in a cloud, may not know what to do, where to go, who to talk to. And I'm here to help them through that and to be here every day for them.
Saying goodbye to a loved one is never easy. Friendship and experience can be a real comfort.
When a loved one loses someone, it's a journey that they're going through. It's new territory, so to speak, and I'm able to be there to help them. And again, being hometown, I'm there with them all the way through it from start to finish.
Caring professionals when you need them most. Harper Ridgeview Funeral Chapel, 452-9701, and Squim Valley Funeral Chapel, 683-5242.
Our Santa Loves a Smart Top event is here. Treat yourself to the best present of all, a hot tub from Olympic. Save up to $4,800 on your new tub with an amazing smart top for free. Ends Christmas Eve. OlympicHotTub.com. Better you, better life.
This holiday season, there's really only one thing to remember when you're making your list, and it's that Swain's has everything. During their Christmas sale, see men's apparel like Key jeans and pants for 25% off, and Sherpa-lined hooded fleece jackets for $24.87. Women's Canyon Guide apparel is 25% off, and Terramar women's and kids' base layer is 25% off too. Just a few examples of the huge savings going on now at Swain's.
A pepperoni pizza for the table.
Thank you.
May I suggest trying it with our Pepsi Zero Sugar? It has just the right amount of sweetness to complement all that cheesy, saucy goodness, while the carbonation and notes of citrus enhance the flavor profile. Simply divine.
Pepsi Zero Sugar? You've really outdone yourself this time. Pizza deserves Pepsi.
Todd Ortloff now with a word for Olympic Peninsula title. They don't just have customers, they have raving fans. Yeah, for over 40 years, they've been earning the repeat business of their customers by treating them with respect, delivering what they promise, prioritizing the security of customers' funds and information, and always providing service with a smile. When it's time to choose a title company to close your transaction, opt for Olympic Peninsula Title and see for yourself why they've earned over 500 five-star reviews, and they've been voted best title company in Clallam County over and over again.
Welcome to Volunteer Spotlight, presented by Jim Hegwood, Port Angeles Realty. With me are members of the Community Emergency Response Team.
Hi, I'm Mac McDonald. I'm an emergency management first responder, and I'm here with geology professor Dan May from Peninsula College. We're all working together to keep Clallam County prepared for a major Cascadia earthquake because there will be a whole lot of shaking going on.
It's not if, but when we'll have a major geologic event.
Will you be ready? Keep in mind there's a 33% chance of a big earthquake happening anytime in the next 50 years. That means massive destruction will occur. Don't be scared. Be prepared.
Search online, CERT Clallam County for preparation resources. That's CERT, which means Community Emergency Response Teams, or find CERT brochures at your local fire station.
Mark Nichols, Clallam County's prosecuting attorney, my guest. We've been going over a couple of cases and using those kind of as some springboards into some other larger topics. And one more, which we were going to talk about here, and then we'll use this to talk about fraud and being alert and some of those things as well. So let's go to the car case.
Absolutely. And so the next case I'd like to speak about is one that resolved following a guilty plea in Clallam County Superior Court. This was more recently on December 11th of this year. The Honorable Superior Court Judge Elizabeth Stanley wound up sentencing an individual named Prele Carr, age 39, of Bothell, to 12 months and 1 day in prison for 4 counts of theft in the first degree, which is a Class B felony offense in Washington. The charges in this case stem from a scheme that targeted elderly individuals in both Clallam and Jefferson counties, although I'm comfortable saying that I think these schemes exist across the entire United States and throughout the entirety of Washington state, even presently, likely today. Under the scheme at issue, elderly individuals were tricked into handing over thousands of dollars in cash, which they were directed to secure within a lockbox and then cover in duct tape. Over in Jefferson County, there was a case that we actually folded into our case resolution. They waived venue and allowed us to do that. That case didn't involve cash being handed over, but instead gold bars, interestingly. And over $100,000 worth of gold bars. So we're talking large amounts of money here, and I'll talk about why that's so significant in a moment. According to the certification for probable cause that was filed with the court in this case, Mr. Carr was identifying as being involved in the scheme through video footage. Law enforcement was able to locate him in Bothell, and when they did, he was found in possession of one of the lockboxes that had been provided by a Clallam County resident under the scheme, and so he was arrested, and then we charged him. Back to the sentencing aspect of this, and again, we just spoke a moment ago for those who were joining about how Washington state law creates some very real guardrails within which prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges need to operate when it comes to sentencing. We also talked about the existence of aggravators and mitigators and then enhancements, things that we can charge that result in additional time being tacked on to somebody's sentence. Mr. Carr's standard range sentence was 4 to 12 months, just like Mr. Massey's.
For that?
For 4 Class B felonies. And I'll talk a bit more about the toll that these felonies had on the individuals involved in a moment. The parties wound up agreeing to an exceptional sentence of 12 months and 1 day. And that had the effect of converting what would have been an otherwise jail sentence to a prison sentence. Because if it's 12 months or more, it's a prison sentence in Washington. If it's 364 days or less, it's a jail sentence. This is where it gets really interesting. And the victim impact statement that was read, I think, really tells the story of just how elaborate fraudsters and scamsters have become. And so at sentencing, one of the Clallam County victims made a victim impact statement through her advocate, and this was an individual from Healthy Families of Clallam County, and the victim impact statement revealed the elaborate nature of the scheme. The victim recounted that she received a telephone call from an individual who identified themselves as one John Davis with the Federal Trade Commission. The caller told the victim that she was being investigated for money laundering and that as a show of good faith, she needed to follow certain steps. The steps included taking his calls at all hours, leaving the line open so he could hear her talk, buying a lockbox, withdrawing $40,000, and she did this 3 times over, putting the money in the lockbox, duct taping it shut, and meeting the caller in the parking lot of a local Walgreens to hand off the money. The victim was told by the caller that the person from the FTC would show her a dollar bill with a particular serial number, but would not talk with her. And she was further directed to leave the line open so the caller could hear everything that transpired while the exchange was occurring. The victim recounted that this occurred, again, 3 times, totaling $120,000. And when the caller asked the victim ultimately to turn over her retirement, she then knew something was wrong and so contacted the police. And that's what resulted in the investigation that allowed for Mr. Carr to be apprehended. Mr. Carr had a right to address the court at the time of sentencing in the same way that the victim did. And he chose to do so, and he stated that he was new to the United States and needed work, so he accepted a courier job and claimed that he did not know that what he was doing was illegal. That's something that my chief criminal deputy, Michelle Devlin, who tried the case, took issue with, and she called into question the veracity of that claim and made a statement to the effect that it was just very difficult to fathom how a person could believe that picking up a box wrapped in duct tape in a parking lot by showing a dollar bill to an elderly person and then later having to open the box and videotape counting thousands of dollars is a legitimate form of work. Be that as it may, that's how the case wound up resolving. I would like to say that this is, I think, a textbook example of a case where the punishment just doesn't fit the crime. And it's the case because if you think about the impacts of this, somebody who's worked their entire life, they've saved for retirement, they might be living on a fixed income, they are tricked into handing over the bulk, perhaps, of their life savings, and they may well be in their 70s or 80s or even 90s. I mean, these frauds and scams are being perpetrated against these vulnerable populations.
Right,
absolutely,
yeah, right.
They're against these vulnerable populations. The amounts are staggering, and what is so concerning to me is that many of these individuals don't have time left to rebuild their lives financially. And so the degree of devastation and impact that this has is extraordinary. And if the message that we want to be sending as a state is that you'll be looking at 4 to 12 months if you get caught, and it's fairly difficult, to say the least, to locate these folks. With the advent of the World Wide Web, no longer is it the case that scamsters are solely confined to your community.
Right. Yeah.
They could be anywhere. They could be anywhere.
Yeah.
They could be in Germany or Japan or China. Take your pick. We're not going to be able to investigate those crimes, and even if we could somehow figure out that there's an individual, say in Germany, who we believe is responsible, the logistics and the cost of going through a process to try to access them in their home country, try and extradite them back here, all for property crime, just doesn't make good sense. It'd be throwing good money after bad. And so I think we need to look more closely at this area of our state sentencing laws because, again, I just don't feel, especially based on constituent feedback, that the punishment meets the crime.
Absolutely. That's almost a cost of doing business right there. I mean, it's like, well, it might be a year. Okay, that's worth it.
Yes, and
it's worth the risk.
Part of why sentences exist is to create a deterrent. And I just don't feel, and I'm not seeing, that the deterrent message is really being advanced based upon the treatment under state law. I know there are folks who would argue on balance that this is a property crime, it's only money. And that's true, it is only money. However, the effect that it has is devastating. Mm-hmm. And I think for the folks who might argue that it's a mere property crime, if they were to put themselves into the shoes of a victim and contemplate, what would that be like for me if I was well into retirement, didn't have a lot of extra money to spare, and suddenly I had over $100,000, maybe several $100,000 of my net worth that was gone overnight. Would I be able to pivot and recover and continue living, or would a series of bad scenarios develop and befall me in my remaining years?
All right. With a few minutes that we have left here, just a couple of minutes, I know you want to get the word out about proposed changes in court rules, and this is going to affect bails in criminal cases. It's more of an awareness piece at this point, but this is coming, right?
It is. And so bail is a hot topic. I am often asked about it. And so I thought it would be appropriate to inform the traveling public, the listenership, that there is a proposal that's been brought forward by a series of defense consortiums in the state, and they are encouraging the state Supreme Court to revisit the court rule, that speaks to the basis upon which bail can be imposed in criminal cases. The changes that are being proposed would, I'll actually read from the purpose statement, so I don't need to paraphrase. This is pretty important. They would replace the current standard of likely failure to appear with high likelihood of willful flight from prosecution, require at least one failure to appear before bail could be imposed under the newly amended willful flight prong, enact a $200 cap on bond and warrant amounts for most misdemeanor offenses when a finding is made under the newly amended willful flight prong. They would amend a separate section of the rule regarding failure to appear in the administration of justice prongs and enact a strong presumption for the deposit of a sum not to exceed 10% of the set bail with a clerk of the court. And so a lot of this has to do with arguments surrounding a person's likelihood to appear in court. We speak in terms of failure to appear. And the proponents of this rule change are arguing, according to a number of different bases, that the use of pretrial bail for folks who present a threat of not appearing needs to be revisited. They cite as an example to the consequences that can befall folks who are ordered to pay bail. That can include loss of housing, employment, and financial stability. They talk about the consequences to the family of pretrial incarcerees. If somebody's incarcerated in jail, they can't keep working and feed their family, for example. They talk about the negative outcomes for the children of incarcerated parents. Just as a few examples of their basis for the proposed changes to the rule. What's not included in their advocacy is, on balance, the focus being put on the accused in relation to the broader effort in the criminal justice system. And I think that's where folks like prosecutors, likely law enforcement, and others are going to step forward and say, we understand that there's a focus on the rights of the accused, and there's concern for their well-being as they go through the process. After all, they're presumed innocent, and until they're found guilty, they shouldn't be incarcerated. But on balance, again, there are other concerns that we need to be addressing, and having people appear in court to face the process is part of the protocol. This is something that's developing. It's going to have an open comment period through April of next year. Okay. Maybe on a future show, I'll give folks more information about that. You can go to the state Supreme Court website and find the rule proposal with changes. But it's something that's probably going to stand a decent chance of being adopted based upon what we've seen from the court in recent years.
And what it says on the face of this is, for a good majority of cases coming through, it's a no bail. It'll be a no bail state. Is that an appropriate thing to say?
I wouldn't go that far, because there are some bases that are remaining on the books. There's no proposal to change them, and so if somebody presents a substantial likelihood of committing a serious violent offense, the state can still argue for bail in that case. The question is, what's the amount of bail, if it's going to be imposed at all? These arguments are really more focusing on the likelihood to appear issue, and what they're trying to do is encourage the high court to change the analysis based upon some public policy considerations and move away from a practice that has people who are accused of crimes and presumed innocent incarcerated on a pretrial basis, given the array of harms that are being brought forward that occur. So it would make it more difficult to be able to impose bail for folks under a failure to appear sort of methodology. There would be other bases that are still in place. But to your point, yes, I think along a spectrum, this does exist as a step moving in the direction of something more like a cashless bail system. There's more and more discussion occurring surrounding unsecured bonds as compared to secured bonds. The secured bonds, of course, require money up front being put down. Unsecured are essentially a promise.
It's a credit, basically.
I promise to appear, and only if I don't
Right.
will there be a financial consequence that befalls me.
From a prosecutor's perspective, though, when you have flight risk issues you're talking about with people, I mean, that's got to be somewhat concerning because there's, granted, some people you really don't worry about it, but there are a lot of folks that you do kind of worry about, will they actually show up for a hearing or for a trial for, who knows?
Oh, absolutely. And I full well, I'm very supportive of the presumption of innocence. I also expect that people are they're going to follow the process once they're brought into the system. And
is there another tool then that you can use, or is that going to be taken away so that you can keep people sort of, I'm going to say, on the hook? You've got to be here for the hearing. You got to come in for an arraignment or whatever it might be.
Sure. The recourse at present, which I think would continue to exist for the state, involves that we can move the court for the issuance of a warrant that can be executed by law enforcement, result in the individual who didn't appear being picked up, brought before the court, and then there's a discussion regarding what happened and how do we make sure this doesn't recur, because when people don't appear, among other consequences, what we experience is delay. And the system's slow enough already, so we really need to be moving these matters along. It may represent inconvenience on some level for somebody who's accused of a crime, but if a court's determined that there is probable cause, the case has gone live in the system, I think it really behooves everyone to keep it moving along to as swift a resolution as is possible.
All right. Is there any middle ground in this, do you think?
Let me get back to you on that.
That's a fair question.
Yes,
I'll take that.
The answer is likely yes, because there usually is. My interest is in, just as one prosecutor, providing some semblance of advocacy on balance, because I think that it's when the system falls out of balance that we really start inviting troubling outcomes for communities around the state. And already we're operating under a situation where community expectation is at a level that oftentimes the system cannot meet. And what that translates into, very understandably, is frustration, which is why we have these conversations and try to help inform and impart information. Speaking of which, before we wrap up, last time I was on, we talked briefly in passing about the State Office of Independent Investigation into the recent officer-involved shooting in Port Angeles. And I believe I made the statement that the OII, as it's called, is required to have its report to me within about 90 days. I'd like to correct that. I was conflating a timeline. It's within 120 days.
Oh, so there's longer time then.
They have a little more time, 4 months versus 3, to get things wrapped up, although recently they've fallen behind and have not been able to meet that deadline in at least one other county. Wow. So we'll learn together whether they're able to get their report to me by the 120-day mark.
All right, in 30 seconds, is there a consequence if they don't get it to you in 120 days?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they would simply acknowledge that they're not meeting their statutory deadline and perhaps provide some explanation surrounding why, but that would simply serve to delay things, going back to the use of the D word in relation to the broader criminal justice system, which again is something that I think we would be wise as a state from a policy level to focus on and constantly ask that question: what can we do to shorten time frames? I'm not talking about divesting people of their due process rights, but things are taking longer and longer and longer. And I think on balance, we need to find a way, if at all possible, to speed things up just a bit. It's in the interest of everyone. Even the accused, if they're going to take the position I've been wrongly accused, I would, if I were in that position, I would
like to get this taken care of sooner rather than later.
Quickly, yeah. Absolutely. And for crime victims and survivors, similarly. The notion of having a resolution, which can be a piece of the puzzle when it comes towards the march towards closure and moving on with your life, getting that done sooner versus later would be very helpful.
All right. Mark Nichols, always great to talk to you. Thanks for stopping in, as always. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you, Tom.
Mark is the prosecuting attorney here in Clallam County. We're going to take a break and check in with the news next.
You have a neighborhood auto parts store in Sequim ready to help. Such as when you're getting your trailer set up for the season, rely on A1 Auto Parts and Marine to keep your outdoor adventure on the road. Trailer brakes, axles, bearings, even a hydraulic hose fix. A1 Auto will custom make hydraulic hose while you wait. Find the experts at A1 Auto Parts and Marine, downtown Sequim.
Hey there, Dawn Riling with Olympic Hot Tub. This holiday, treat yourself to the best present of all, a hot tub from Olympic. Through Christmas Eve, our Santa Loves a Smart Top event will save you up to $4,800 on your new tub and include an amazing smart top for free. This awesome hardcover handles northwest weather, locks in heat, and looks fantastic. Santa loves a smart top, and so will you. It's the perfect gift to put under the tree. Details at olympichottub.com. Better you, better life.
Life on the peninsula is special, and so is finding the right home. I am Janine Cardiff with Century 21 Real Estate Center right here in Port Angeles. Whether it's a waterfront view along the strait or a cozy home in the foothills, I am here to help you find your perfect fit.
Century 21 Real Estate Center. Local agents, global reach. Call 452-1210 for a neighbor in real estate.
Say bah humbug to big spending and save during Scrooge Night at your local Coastal. On Monday, December 15th from 4 to 9 p.m. only, save 25% off all regular and clearance price clothing, footwear, and clothing accessories for the whole family. That's a deal even Scrooge would stop in for. Plus, take 25% off regular and clearance price toys and home decor just in time for Christmas. For 5 special hours at your local Coastal, you can get 15% off regular and clearance price pellet grills and smokers, camping and fishing gear, plus pet and livestock accessories for one night only. Then shop everything else at Coastal, from fencing to feed to heating, for a store-wide 10% off. Arrive at 4 p.m. for the best selection of deals during Scrooge Night.
Coastal Farm and Ranch, just what the country needs.
Save big with Coastal during Scrooge Night this Monday, December 15th.
You know what you can't do when you shop online? Touch, feel, try. But here in Sequim, our local shops are packed with gifts for everyone on your list, with no shipping delays or wrong porch deliveries. Support local and shop Sequim, because the best gifts come from our local shops right down the street.
Visit Solar City's Boutique and Retreat, Sequim's fashion and tanning headquarters. Solar City offers apparel, footwear, accessories, and tanning beds to give you that sun-kissed glow, even in the winter.
We Do Fudge offers drive-through gift boxes of fudge for just $13 each, or 2 for $25, or Cashew Delight, available in 1-pound gift boxes for $25 each.
Satisfy everyone's gift wish win by shopping local in downtown Spin.
Your community-minded friends at First Fed bring you the Community Corner, highlighting good things happening right here in our area.
The Clallam County Toys for Tots Toy Drive is on now. Drop off new and unwrapped toys throughout Clallam County, including right here at our studio, 721 East 1st Street in Port Angeles. With your help, Toys for Tots will bring the joy of Christmas and send a message of hope to children in our community who need it the most. The holidays continue to ring out as Sequim City Band presents Festive Flourishes. Come enjoy festive classics, carols, and celebrations of the season with music director Tyler Benedict and the Sequim City Band, Sunday, December 21st, 2 p.m. at Port Angeles High School. And don't miss family holiday jams throughout December with the Peninsula Community Youth Orchestra. Go to pcyo.kids for info.
Community Corner, presented by First Fed.
Stay cozy and powered as the year winds down at Leitz Farm Supply and Equipment Sales in Sequim. Grab Clean Burn pellets for $2.50 a ton, Olympus pellets at $2.90, and Home Fire logs only $1 each. Power up with Furman generators, now 15% off. Get a free solar panel when you buy a ghost opener, as well as 20% off all accessories. Don't forget to treat yourself with 40% off Montana West purses. End of year savings only at Leitz Farm Supply.
Santa's elves aren't the only ones bringing the deals. Dungeness Kids Company is rolling out a brand new Christmas countdown sale every single week, packed with gifts kids actually want. This week, get 20% off the cutest rain jackets and boots, calico critter toys, and ta-da! It's our stocking stuffer sale. So anything that fits in our little goodie bag is 20% off. Hurry in before the week's deal disappears. Dungeness Kids Company, your holiday headquarters on Washington Street in downtown Sequim.
A warm, happy holiday season to you and yours from News Radio KONP, Port Angela Sequim, a Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Lindsay Davis, anchor of Crime, streaming weeknights on ABC News Live. Classes at Brown University are canceled for the remainder of the semester, but students on campus remain on edge after police announced they released a person of interest today. The search for the suspect who killed 2 students and wounded 9 others is widening. ABC's Whit Johnson is in Providence.
It's an alarming twist in this case. We spoke with some students just yesterday who were anxious about coming out of their homes even after they thought a person of interest had been detained. Now this investigation takes a major step backwards, leaving many in this Providence community grieving and afraid.
Shock and sadness in Hollywood after the stabbing deaths of famed director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer. The couple's son Nick Reiner was arrested earlier in connection with the murders. ABC's Alex Stone is outside the Reiner home and says the daughter discovered their bodies Sunday.
Apparently Nick Reiner had been dealing with for many years. They even made a movie together.